Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the last meeting of 2020 of the Amherst Exempted Village Board of Education. I would like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Mrs. Giaffrido.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Gillis.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Mr. Iacobozzi.
Here.
Mr. Zappa.
Here.
And now I'll take a recommendation to adopt the agenda as presented, including any addendums.
So move. I'll second Rex's motion.
Get that, Mrs. Giaffrido?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Mr. Iacobozzi.
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye. And now we'll move on to the treasurer's recommendations.
Before I start with my recommendations for the evening, I just want to mention that we will do a minor financial review in January. I won't do anything this evening, but we do want to set our organization meeting this evening. As you all know, it has to be completed by January 15th of each year. So fitting with a normal Monday schedule, we have either the 4th or the 11th.
I would prefer the 11th. I don't know what everybody else is.
Does the 11th work for everybody? That works for me as well.
Yep.
5:30 p.m.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. We'll
And
set
that
that meeting.
And that meeting will be at the CLC at the high school, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So January 11th at 5:30 at the CLC at the high school for the organizational meeting.
I will make that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. As far as recommendations for this evening, pretty normal course we have approved the minutes for the November 16th and the November 9th special board meeting. We have financial reports for the month of November. We have a bunch of appropriation changes for the month, primarily cleaning up fiscal 20 grants and bringing the fiscal 21 grants in line with the ODE grant system. And then we have item E, which is a 3-year agreement with Ray & Associates to provide GAP, which are financial statement preparations for fiscal years 21 through 23. And item F are donations.
I'll take a motion for approval of treasurer's recommendation 6A through 6F, please.
So moved.
Second. I'll second.
I'm sorry, Teresa, and was it Mark second?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? Questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Mr. Iacobozzi.
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye. Moving on to the superintendent's report, Mr. Sayers.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Snyder. I have 3 items here this evening, and would start with actually a proclamation that we received from the Ohio House of Representatives. Not sure if you can see it or not, but I thought I would take just a minute and read this, if that would be okay. And again, this is from the House of Representatives under the sponsorship of Representative Joe Miller, House District 56. It says, on behalf of the members of the House of Representatives of the 133rd General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to congratulate the Amherst Exempted Village Schools on being presented with the 2020-21 Purple Star Award by the Ohio Department of Education. Selection for this noteworthy distinction is indeed an honor of which everyone associated with the Amherst Exempted Village Schools can be proud, for each member of the staff has shown a tremendous dedication to serving military families. The combination of school management, student development, personnel, programs, and community support contributed to this fine institution receiving this designation, and it will serve as a model for other districts throughout the state. Amherst Exempted Village Schools has established a solid foundation of superior programs on which it can build an even more rewarding and productive future. By celebrating our military families and providing a supportive school environment that encourages students to attain their full potential, the district has earned the respect and esteem of many and is deserving of this highest praise. Thus, with genuine pleasure, we applaud the Amherst Exempted Village Schools on its recent accolade and extend best wishes for ongoing attainment. Joe Miller, Representative, House District 56, and Robert Cupp, Speaker, Ohio House of Representatives. So very nice, and wanted to share that with the board here this evening. The other item, just wanted to provide a quick update on our eCampus on-campus program. We're actually in the midst of our second trimester for the junior high school and high school, but with Powers and Nord, we're actually getting ready to transition from the first semester to the second semester, which starts here on Tuesday, January the 5th. And as of right now, and these numbers are approximate, but I would say they're 99% accurate. We have about, and Mike, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have about 90 students, K-5, who are interested in moving from eCampus to on-campus. And we have about 15 students interested in moving from on-campus to eCampus. So we have roughly a net gain of about 75 transitioning back to an in-person program here with the beginning of the second semester. And of course, we have others who have chosen, who started the year eCampus and are staying eCampus, and others that started on campus and are continuing with the on-campus. So again, just wanted to provide that update. Powers and Nord are working on the details and the scheduling and staffing and procedures and lunches and all of those kinds of things to be ready to go January the 5th. And the last thing I just wanted to share is the board is aware, we have a number of policies that are included on this evening's agenda. I know Mrs. Neidert and Mr. Jacobozzi have reviewed those and recommended that they be included on the agenda. And there's one in particular that Mr. Molnar is going to provide some in-depth information regarding this policy. It's on graduation requirements. And I know Mr. Tellier is also available this evening to answer any questions you may have. So at this point, unless the board has any questions, would like to turn things over to Mr. Molnar. I didn't know if there are any questions before Mike gets started with his presentation. Before
we go there, Mr. Sayers, one of the things in the treasurer's report about Comets Live, is someone going to address tonight the donation?
Yes, that's a great point. Thank you, Mrs. Snyder. And actually should be formally included on our next agenda in January. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because although we don't have the funds yet, we have received word that we have received a donation in the amount of $16,000 from the GPD Foundation. And Doug Cogdell, our technology supervisor, as you know, has been instrumental with this Comets Live program and trying to get this program up and going. And he applied for a grant through the GPD Foundation. As the board is aware, they are the architects for our new Powers Elementary School here, and they have a foundation And so we were able to apply for a grant, and Doug did a great job with that. And we've received notice that, in fact, we're going to benefit from $16,000, which is a great way to kind of get this program started. And again, the board will see that formally on the next agenda in January. Thank you for the reminder, Mrs. Snyder.
Thanks, Mr. Sayers. So we'll go ahead and move on to Mr. Molnar.
All right, bear with me as I share my screen. All right, Valerie, can you see my screen and also still hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can on both counts.
All right, great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the graduation policy that's on the board agenda tonight. Again, you'll see the slides I've created, and you'll have to just listen, I guess, to my voice. So I will try to be engaging and keep you interested. So I wanted to touch base on the graduation requirements. They've changed quite a bit over the last few years as the state has expanded the different pathways of graduation. And we've updated this policy actually a couple of times in the last few years just to match the state laws and Ohio Revised Code. And usually we haven't had a discussion, but this time I wanted to discuss a few of recommendations that we have for changes. And really it came to the forefront because over the last year with the issues with COVID and the quick transition we had to online learning in the spring and the trimester schedule change this year for Steele with 2 classes per trimester, really, it brought to the forefront some discussions that we've had over the last couple of years that we I guess haven't felt the need to address. We've kind of been used to the status quo, but we really feel now's the time to make a positive change. So I wanted to highlight and explain 2 recommended changes to our graduation requirements in a moment. One pertains to the number of credits that we require in Amherst to graduate. And the second is the specified subject areas for those credits. So in a moment, I'll show you the 2 recommended changes. And I believe that, and I think Mr. Taylor and Mr. Sayers will agree, they really are meant to kind of remove, one is to remove a difficult and honestly unnecessary barrier for some of our students. And the other one will open the door for more flexibility and personal choice for all of our students. So as you look at the next slide here, first, we are proposing a change to Amherst's number of credits required for graduation. Currently, you could see right here on the chart, the state of Ohio sets a minimum requirement of 20 graduation credits. In Amherst, our minimum is 24 credits. Now on the surface, a layperson might think that the more credits equals a higher standard, but that's really not the case. The truth is the number of credits really does not have a bearing, as you can imagine, on academic achievement or rigor or even higher expectations. The quantity of credits really does not equal a quality of credits. And if that were the case, then obviously a lot of the top districts in Ohio would be competing for having the maximum number of minimum credits, but they're not. And most districts in Ohio have a minimum requirement of 21 or 22 credits. Now, we have actually one of the highest minimum credit requirements in the state of Ohio. And I'm going to show you some examples in a moment. Now, while a large majority of our students have no problem reaching our current requirement, a small number of students who struggle either in the educational system or just they have a specialized instruction, they have a difficulty reaching our current kind of high minimum requirement. Quite honestly, it's, I think, an unnecessary barrier. Second, the second thing we're proposing a change to is the specified areas of those required credits. So you can see on the chart that we're very scripted in the credits and where they're applied, right? So while Ohio scripts out 15 credits, math, ELA, science, etc., they allow student freedom to choose about 5 electives from any area. In Amherst, though, we've scripted out 20.5 credits, and we only allow students the freedom to choose about 3.5 credits from any area. And again, those can be from any area that students want. So even though we require more credits for graduation, our students actually have less flexibility in choosing their own path in education. So you can see we've scripted out so many credits in a lot of detail. If I can give one example, I kind of liken it to a birthday party. Have you been to a birthday party where every minute's been scripted out, right? The gifts, the presents, the craft, the games. Sometimes students just want to have fun. They just want to enjoy and have the flexibility to have their own fun. And again, I think we've kind of have a scenario where we've scripted maybe so much to try to have a well-rounded student that we're not giving students the freedom to make their own path, if that makes sense. So next I'm going to show you some data, because one thought someone might have is that, well, it's really, the 24 is really important, and that's the goal. When we all know, having kids in education, the number of credits is not the goal, right? Meeting the minimum is not the goal. The goal is to have classes and experiences and learn and grow. On the chart in front of you, you can see our current seniors and their current number of credits. So right now, you see there's a wide range. If the goal was only to get to the minimum 24, then we would have a bulk of kids, all kids kind of hovering at like maybe 19, 20, 21, 22 credits to end their career at 24. You can see that's not the case. We have kids all the way up into 30 credits. And that's what they have earned as of right now. Most of these students still are going to earn 2, 3, or 4 credits over the next 2 trimesters. So right now we have 84 seniors with enough credits to graduate if they wanted to. And if we were to move the minimum requirement to say 22, we'd have actually 164 seniors with enough credits to graduate. So you can see that the number of credits really is not the goal. I asked my daughter, who's a junior, if she knows how many credits she needs to graduate in Amherst. She didn't know. My son graduated last year. He didn't really know, because the goal is not the number of credits. The goal is your path in your career, right? So real quick, the 2 changes we're recommending, the number of credits and where those credits can be applied. If you look at the chart here for our top students, maybe those have 24 through 30 credits already, it's really not going to affect them too much. They've already met the goal of the number of credits, and they've already met the requirements where usually these middle top students, they already have gone through the requirements, so they already have freedom to kind of choose what they want near the end of their career as seniors. So it's not going to affect them too much. But our middle students, the ones in the middle right now with maybe 20, 21, 22 credits, those are the students who, when they get to senior year, they probably have, their senior year is probably filled with required credits that they don't necessarily want to take, but they have to take, right? An example, I just had a call a few weeks ago from a neighbor who is a senior who said, my son has to take this last science credit. He doesn't like science, but he's got to take it. And he's put it off. He's put it off. He's been dreading it, but he has to take it. And so we're trying to find something that's going to work for him. And the 2 options he really doesn't want to take. So we had to work out with, Mr. Tellier and the guidance counselors. We had to work it through. But imagine if this student, for these middle students, allowing more flexibility, they will meet the requirements, again, by their maybe junior, senior year, which will allow them in their senior year specifically to take classes that they will enjoy and want to take, and maybe are geared more toward their path versus required ones that they have to take because we've scripted it out so much, okay? Another example is just maybe a student who's trying to take the last couple classes required. Their senior year is kind of scripted out. They really don't have much choice. Now, if they had choice, they would love to, for example, they're not maybe an art student, but they would love to take an art class because they've heard Mr. Trunzo is awesome, right? So that's kind of what we're doing to allow more flexibility. So I said I wanted to show you a few examples real quick here. You can see on this chart, I've put up here a lot of local districts, some in our county, some in our conference. And you could see, as I mentioned, I would say about 90 to 98% of districts in Ohio have a minimum credit requirement of 21 or 22 credits. I searched, there's no list anywhere. So I searched through all the schools and their courses of study and their websites. I went through Cuyahoga County. I went through Columbus area. I went through Cincinnati area. I looked at urban districts, suburban districts, I looked at them all. Almost every single one, their minimum credits were 21 or 22. I could not find anyone with 24 credits like Amherst. And so I also spoke to our local assistant superintendents and curriculum directors about this, because I'm saying, hey, I think there's something we want to change here, and I want to get your feedback and your thoughts on it. And I asked them, would you ever consider going to 24 minimum credits? And what do you think the answer was? No. Why would we do that? There's no maximum, there's no ceiling. Kids can hit as many credits as they want, especially with College Credit Plus. Really, we like the minimum at 21, 22, because that's really a great standard for kids. And I asked them about our scriptedness, and they actually all agreed. They said, you're right, Mike. We want more flexibility. You want more flexibility in what students can take. If you look at this chart real quick, can you see Midview here in the middle? As an example, Midview thinks a good example. They've set it at 22 credits. The kids are required to take their 4 math, 4 ELA, 3 science, 3 social studies. They're required their half PE and health. And Midview says the remaining 7, you can choose whatever you like. It's not very restrictive or prescriptive. It's take the credits that you can apply to maybe your career path, your educational path, the path you're going in college. If you want 3 or 4 double up in math, go for it. If you want to do 3 or 4 art, go for it. If you want to do foreign language, go for it. As an example, I think Midview has a good example of what that looks like when you open up the credits and allow more flexibility. So moving on near the end, I wanted to get to finally what we're proposing in the new policy, which is, you could see I kind of highlighted in yellow, is that we would like to come to a more reasonable minimum standard of 22 credits. And we're going to go down to the state, recommending the state recommendation of 4 in English, 4 in math, 3 in science, 3 in social studies. Again, there's no ceiling. Kids could choose to take as many of those classes as they want. We're also changing the world language to not have a requirement. And then we're increasing then the electives so students can choose the path that they think is best for them, whether it be in the technology area, in math or science, in ELA, in a career technical class. So that's the goal of why we're proposing this in our new graduation requirement policy. And then finally, thank you for being patient. Just to sum it up, I've listed here the summary of the changes that we're recommending and the positive outcomes. When you look at it clearly, I think it does a couple things. It establishes that reasonable minimum that's aligned with almost everyone in the entire state. It eliminates this unnecessary barrier for those small population of kids who really either struggle or have specialized programs, and 24 is just an unreasonable minimum. And then it allows more flexibility and freedom for our students to select electives. And I really think at the end, if you let that happen with kids, it's going to allow for a more enjoyable and tailored high school experience for all our students.
Very nice, Mr. Molnar. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think I stopped sharing the screen, correct?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
So now questions for Mr. Molnar.
And Mr.
Mike.
Tully is here as well.
And Mr. Tellier. Yes.
Mike, this is Ron. Are we saying that we're not going to require any foreign language going forward?
Right. So we're going to highly recommend it, but it's not going to be officially required. And as you looked at the other school districts around us and around the state, it's also not required for them. I think the incentive of getting an honors diploma, and again, we've expanded our foreign language in the district K through 12. I do not anticipate at all any drop in foreign language. I believe come spring, when our junior high students in 8th grade sign up for example, Spanish 1 for high school credit, it's going to be the same numbers always, because those students want to earn those credits in foreign language for an honors diploma, and also because it's recommended for college. So if you're in that college track, you're going to take those foreign language classes anyway. What it's really allowing is for those on a career path, and for those who might be more interested in the arts or engineering, or they know on their college path they may not need foreign language, it allows them to take other things they might be able to take. And again, with College Credit Plus, that's important because if you can free up classes that aren't necessary to allow them to take classes that they can actually bank toward college credit, then why wouldn't we want to do that?
Okay.
Anybody else have questions? Wow, Mike, you're off the hook.
Not yet.
Would this take place next year?
Good question. Good question, Mark. Going back to what I said earlier about COVID, this has been something that we've seen and the guidance counselors in high school has dealt with for a long time. You're always struggling with a few students who are trying to get that high minimum of 24. Meanwhile, they've really met everything they needed to meet. They're just trying to finish up. Maybe I got to take, whatever they need to take. And with COVID in the spring and what's happening now, we have, I think, a few more than usual. So we would like, and we have in the policy, we recommend that it is open to seniors this year for graduating in 2021. They've really done everything they needed to do. Let's kind of loosen the rein a little bit on this very high minimum requirement that no one really in the state has.
I really like it. I think it's a great idea.
Yep.
And it's not a lowering of our standards. It's just, it's creating a greater flexibility to allow kids actually to take more, probably.
Yeah. I mean, how many of us had conversations with our children that, they're telling us in senior year, I got to take this, I got to take that, because I got to fill these requirements. And they're like, boy, I really wish I could take criminal justice, or I wish I could take that class with, again, Tony Trunzo, or I'm gonna go into choir in my senior year. And instead, they're kind of boxed into something they have to take, which is, again, not really necessary.
So I would just add that this is going to require the guidance office to be much more involved in the student's high school career.
Very much so.
Joe, you want to share anything about next steps then?
Yeah, I would just, and to kind of piggyback off Mike, I do like the flexibility. In our current schedule, you could take 7 or 8 classes in a normal school year. So yeah, I like the idea of implementing this immediately because of our trimester. I mean, we only allowed our kids to take 6 classes. So we kind of changed the game on them, and we did that, for safety reasons, and it's a good schedule for, how we're conducting things. But yeah, I definitely like the idea of being able to implement this immediately for that class of 2021. I think they'd benefit well.
And I too wanted to just follow up, and I wanted to thank Mike and Joe. They've done a ton of work with this, as you can tell, in researching and looking at other districts and looking at student schedules and how it impacts our students in various scenarios, whether it be college-bound students, whether it be students that are looking to enter directly into the workforce or go to a trade or technical school. They've looked at this from multiple perspectives. And I concur. I really believe that this provides a much more personalized educational experience for our students and allows them to pursue the passions that they have and the goals and work towards the goals that they have as they think about life beyond Steele High School. So again, I just wanted to add my 2 cents and thank Mike and Joe for their work with this. I think this is a great, great thing for our students.
Yeah, I would echo that. Thank you both for the amount of work that this had to take. Any more questions for either Mike or Joe? All right, we'll move on to Mrs. Walker then.
Thank you, Mrs. Neidert. Just 2 quick things I wanted to talk about real quick today. The first one is our district social worker, Jill Majorca, has been working very closely with Firelands Counseling and Recovery Services. And as many of us are aware, the holidays can be a real tough time for folks who have experienced either a recent loss or a loss of someone who is very, very close to them. And so on Thursday, December 17th, we are working with Firelands to do a parent information seminar that's going to be held virtually, just in a similar platform to what we're doing right now with Zoom. It's going to be on coping with loss, and they'll talk about the stages of grief and different ways that can look, and how families can manage that, and rally around one another to provide support. So I encourage folks who might be interested in that to check out our website. We've got a QR code that's got a registration link on that. And once you register for the event, we will send you a link to the Zoom. Now, some folks might not be able to be available at 6 o'clock on Thursday. And so we will be also recording that session and posting it on our YouTube channel as well once it's over, so that we can make sure everybody has access to it. Another thing I wanted to share is I wanted to give you a quick update on our monthly Second Harvest food pickups. We've got our December pickup is also on Thursday. Ms. Majorca just closed the survey for that, and this month we have 48 families who are going to be accessing food boxes for the holidays, and that's about double what we've been seeing. So she and I were talking this morning about how we can, work together to get that accommodated and make sure that we can meet that need. And she's got a lot of ideas in the works. So that's all I have for my report today.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Walker? All right, we'll move on to Mr. Engel.
JVS, as you know, is still remote. They intend to remain remote for a while. The cookie sales is off. So Teresa, I'm sure your money was refunded to you. So I just wanted to remind you of that. If you did order poinsettias, that sale is going on. And the reason being is that was all in work, and it's all going to be curbside pickup where the baking could not happen. We met earlier this week to discuss what the plan would be moving forward from a levy standpoint. There's been no decision on that. We've referred that back to finance to come up with the possible things. I think we've got some ideas, but nothing there. So I really don't have anything else to report unless somebody has some questions. It has been recommended from this board that the superintendent attend all of the homeschool board meetings once a year at least, if not more often. So I think that you'll see some information coming out about that, just because there are some districts where we feel that the exposure of the JVS needs to be a little bit higher, because the general board, especially if their board rep is not a board member on the school board in that community, we don't feel that they are getting any information back at all about the JVS. So I think that was the prompting factor with that. So our goal is to have each time that happens, they will be bringing a student from the homeschool to the board meeting to share what they've learned and what program they're in, so that everyone has a better understanding of what all goes on at the JVS.
That's a great idea, Rex. I like that. How many board members out there are current homeschool board members versus not?
I think there are two, I think, that are not on the homeschool board.
Okay.
That was when the criteria changed a few years back. Now they can be, they don't have to have that person. It had to be a person who had some interest in some vocational component, and that has since gone away. So, and this year, I think there are 4 people that'll be reappointed, or new people will be assigned to that board. So it could be a transition year from that perspective, because some of those people who are not on home boards, our terms are up this year.
Okay. Any other questions for Rex?
Yeah, hey Rex, how are they handling like the labs or the hands-on portion of this?
Well, they're doing that as remotely as much as possible. They're going to try to start to implement bringing the lab people back in on certain days, again, like they did before they completely, when the level went to the highest level, bringing them back, because they were coming in, rotating to do lab stuff. But that probably will not happen until after the holiday break now.
Okay.
Because if you follow the JVS at all, you'll see that there, some of them have been in competition and have placed and whatnot. and like bricklaying and some of those kind of things. So the rotation of that was going very well until the code went up and then everything went remote. So hopefully by the time that break is over, the lab people will be able to come back.
Okay.
Are there any other reports, Mr. Sayers, this week? No.
Well, that's all we have at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We'll move on to board recommendations, Mr. Sayers.
Yes, this is the first item in this, now that we've set the date for the organizational meeting, this item here would allow for Mrs. Snyder to continue to serve as president pro tempore over that organizational meeting.
I'll take a motion for board recommendation 9A.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Rex made the motion, Teresa second. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Engel,
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis,
Aye.
Mr. Yakobozzi,
Aye.
Mr. Zappa,
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye. Mrs. Giuffredo, this is just housekeeping. I stumbled on 9 and 10 because they don't have Mr. Sayers' name behind as the presenter. You might just want to do that for the next time and for the minutes.
Okay.
Moving on to personnel recommendations, Mr. Sayers.
Yes, thank you. We have a number of items here under personnel. And I know the board has had an opportunity to look at these items and review the agenda prior to this evening's meeting. I think there's nothing here really that jumps out is out of the ordinary. Most of these items at this time would like to recommend approval of item 10A through 10H.
So moved.
Excuse
Second.
me, not 10I.
No, we're going to handle that one separately.
Okay. All right.
If
I'm
it-
sorry. Who made the motion?
Ron did.
Second, Teresa? Okay. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Yakobozzi,
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis,
Aye.
Mr. Engel,
Aye.
Mr. Zappa,
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye. And then we'll take a motion for 10I. Yes? Mr. Sayers, is that correct?
That's correct. I just wanted to comment on this one because this one is a new item, something that maybe is a little bit out of the ordinary, if you will. This is I guess a mini retirement incentive, if you will, for our support staff. We've worked with Nora Hicks, president of OPSI, to develop this language. And of course, the language is spelled out very self-explanatory there as part of the attachment. But we think this is actually going to be a cost-saving measure for us as we start to look at staffing for 2021, 22, and beyond. And as the board is aware, we are going to have to do a little bit of right sizing, if you will, and get back to staffing levels that we had prior to this 2020-21 school year. So again, we think this is a proactive step that helps us, helps these employees that choose to take advantage of this, and also a cost savings measure for the district. So just wanted to share that information and would like to recommend approval of item 10I.
So move.
Second.
Do you get that, Amy? Rex and
Yes, ma'am.
Teresa? Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Engel,
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis,
Aye.
Mr. Yakobozzi,
Abstain.
Mr. Zappa,
Aye.
and Mrs. Snyder.
Aye. Moving on to educational recommendations, Mr. Sayers.
Yes, thank you very much. Just two items here. The one item A, we've referenced a significant number of policies there that we work very closely with Neola. Twice a year, recommend policy updates and new policies as needed. Those have been reviewed by Mrs. Snyder, Mr. Jacobozzi. Also, Mr. Molnar shared a little bit about the graduation requirement policy. So I wanted you to be aware of that. And then item B is an addendum to our existing contract that we have with the Ohio Online Learning Program. And this would allow us to provide services for a student with special needs, as I understand it. Is that correct, Mrs. Walker? I think that was the addendum.
That is the addendum. It's actually for to incorporate the Virtual Learning Academy in with our Amherst, with our online academy.
Oh, okay.
Because Ohio Online needed to kind of expand their services due to an increased need in online classes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. Would like to recommend approval of items 11A and 11B.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Zappa,
Aye.
Mr. Jacobozzi,
Aye.
Mr. Engel,
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis,
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye. Business recommendations, Mr. Sayers?
Thank you. And again, just two items here. The first one, you may recall that I think 3 or 4 months ago, we had a similar recommendation that allowed us to enter into an agreement with Vermillion Schools, which enabled us to utilize one of their drivers substituting for us. And now we have a similar recommendation with Clearview. And we appreciate the efforts of Vermillion and Clearview in allowing us to utilize one of their sub bus drivers. It's been very, very helpful as we've worked our way through this pandemic. And again, this gives us the authorization to enter into those agreements and to work out the billing details with those school districts. So wanted you to be aware of that. And an item B is a renewal of our 5-year contract with Final Site, and they are the ones that handle our website. And I know if you have any questions, Mr. Molnar can speak to those and answer those questions. So we'd like to recommend approval of items 12A and 12B.
So move.
Second.
Ron, you second? Are you the second?
Yes.
Any discussion? Rex, did you want to ask any questions?
Yeah, of course I do. Just because of the website, would it be a Mike Rex not conversation if we were talking to the website? Mike, what else did we look at besides this one? Did we do any new research on that or anything?
No, we did not do any new research. I just wanted to renew the contract. They did such a great job the last couple of years. We added the app as Rex recommended. We added that app over a year ago. And so they've done a great job continuing to add more bells and whistles to their product. One more that we're going to continue to explore.
And the app has been received very well. Is that my understanding?
Yes. Yes, it's very efficient.
Thank you.
Vote? We need to vote, right?
I got a quick question, Val.
Oh, okay. All right.
So going back to the busing, Steve, how
Yes.
many drivers are we down?
Well, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
We've had, of course, we've been impacted by the virus. We've had folks in our transportation department that have tested positive. We've had others that have been quarantined. We have others that are on various leaves for non-COVID related items. So it's really just been a combination of factors. We do have some interest in some new sub bus drivers. I know Tia's had a couple of interviews over the last 3 or 4 days. So we're hoping to add a couple of more substitutes as we return after the holidays. It's just, we've done very, very well with our teacher subs. Our pool of subs has been very strong, and we've been able to cover our classes, and that's worked out very well. But our sub bus driver situation has been a challenge. We actually just posted again on Facebook this past, I think.
I seen that. I was going to say, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, we posted on Facebook, and I also included it in our weekly blast email update. So again, we're just trying to expand that pool of sub drivers, but it's as you know, a very, very difficult job. And we've just had a combination of factors that have contributed to some absences, and we're covering, but it's been a team effort, and obviously has involved the help of other school districts, which we are very grateful for. So Tia, I will say, has done a great job. And what's a challenge sometimes is when you get a call at 5 o'clock in the morning that someone cannot be there. That's when that's really a challenge. And she's done a great job of adjusting and adapting, combining routes where she needs to do that. So I want to commend her. Her leadership in that department this year has just been fabulous.
Good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gillis. Mr. Yakobozzi.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye. And then we will take a motion for adjournment.
So
Oh, you
moved.
do that? I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll second.
Okay.
No, Ron, if you have something, go ahead.
I do.
All right, well then go ahead. We don't need to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Ron. I'm sorry. I know you told me you wanted to say something. I apologize.
I want to pass on a very healthy congratulations to Eric Watts and his madrigals for doing an incredible job last Thursday evening. This whole pandemic has caused us to experience whole different things. And I recently had a Zoom Christmas party meeting with the Mercy Health Organization. That they probably had well over 100, 150, maybe more people on this Zoom Christmas party. The last thing that they had on the agenda was the Amherst Madrigals singing the song. What's the one with Fa La La? What is that one? Anyway, it was that song, and it was a hit of the night. These kids were all from home, I believe. They were all on the screen at one time. There must have been 20 of them. And I have to say congratulations to Eric and most especially the students. What they did was incredible. I mean, the sound was like, wow. So, and Mercy was very appreciative of the students singing the song. Again, what is that song with Fa La La? What is that?
Sing it for us.
No. But I just want to pass it on. Very, very proud of them. And they did Amherst the Amherst School District well, believe me, very well. So
Are you sure you were listening to that music, Ron, since you don't remember the name of the song?
I don't sing. Congratulations again to the students. Incredible. Very well done.
Yeah, let me just, it's fun for me to brag about my teachers. So yeah, let me just tell you, Eric, he did that at graduation too. We had that performance that we did, and it's like, okay, how do we do these traditions that we used to do at CSU, during a virtual ceremony? And like I said, I'll brag for him. He said, 50, 60 hours. I mean, he's modest. He won't share that, but he literally goes through and he syncs them all up. I mean, they're all singing individually, and that program, he does a great job, and the kids sound great. And, but yeah, he's very modest about it. That is it's a huge undertaking, but it's awesome.
It was really cool. It really was. Yeah.
Is there any way for us?
The two songs that he's done on YouTube has been phenomenal.
Right.
If you
really
haven't listened to it, you can go to YouTube and listen to the two songs that they've done just to the general public.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, the kids have been fabulous. And of course, Eric and his leadership, it's a great thing. Again, it's an example of not dwelling on what we can't do, but trying to focus on what we can do in making the best of the situation. And this is just another example of that. So it's just great work all the way around.
If my memory serves me right, the song is Deck the Halls.
You are right, Ron. That's a great memory.
Yeah.
So are you ready to start singing, Ron? We're ready for you.
I will not put you through the pains of my non-vocal voice.
You weren't a choir member in school?
Absolutely not. They had nothing to do with me.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Since we don't want Ron to sing for us.
Stop, Rex.
I didn't say a word. I retracted my motion to adjourn so we could hear you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Rex, you want to put your motion back out there?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right. Anybody want to argue about adjourning? All right, we'll take the roll call for that.
Mr. Engel,
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis,
Aye.
Mr. Yakobozzi,
Aye.
Mr. Zappa,
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye. And thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Tellier.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New